Hey, it's Jack, and this video is called How to Get Into a Relationship. So this video is for you if you have never had a relationship, if it's been a long time since you've had a relationship, if you're looking out in the world and thinking, gosh, the world of relationships has changed, or if you are looking to call in a relationship in this phase of your life. I've got lots of ideas for you. I think it's going to serve you. And if nothing else, we can take a little stroll here together and enjoy some of the beautiful green scenery here in Virginia. So, first thing I want to say to you is, I like that you want this, right? Meaning sometimes the first step is actually just admitting that there's something that we want, and particularly if that thing feels elusive, or we don't quite know how to get it, or we perhaps even have some reservations about getting it. Claiming your authentic desire is a big part of development for most of us, ongoingly, and you're claiming that this is an authentic desire. If that's true for you, that's really cool, right? And we don't always have to know how to make a thing happen. Sometimes we just have to start with, hey, this is an authentic desire. There's a great Nietzsche quote, which I'm going to corrupt, but the essence of the quote is, when you decide that there's something that you want, all manner of things in the universe can conspire for you. So just you being clear with yourself and kind of holding that as a reality, and perhaps starting to speak it into reality a little bit. Like maybe you share with some of your friends, like, yeah, I'm looking for a relationship, and or I want to know about getting into a relationship because I haven't had one. That life can start to conspire for you. So number one, we're going to claim your authentic desire. Number two, what are the barriers to getting into a relationship, right? So I've worked for myself my whole life. I've had my own business, so I tend to think a little bit in business metaphors sometimes. So I'm just going to spin this around here. This is Fort Hunt Park. This is it's beautiful. It's quiet, and then there's lots of buzzing activities of bugs. But I'm going to take a risk. If I start to get eaten alive by bugs, it's been a great life. Thanks for being with me. Claiming your authentic desire, and the sort of second thing that you can orient towards is, what are the barriers to getting into relationships? So some of the barriers might be, from a business sort of way of thinking about it, do you have a sales problem or do you have a marketing problem? So a marketing problem is that you don't really have enough leads, you don't have enough prospects, you don't have enough prospective dates. So if that's true for you, you may have to put yourself out there more than you're currently doing, right? So that could look like getting on a dating app, that could look like joining more group activities where you might meet the sorts of people that, generally speaking, you could be interested in. It might look like making more specific requests of your friends, like maybe saying, hey, I am interested in dating and I would love for you to set me up with someone. Is there anyone who works in your office, or I know that you're part of that painting scene, or that you play chess or soccer, or you go hiking. Have you met anyone that you might be interested in dating? Or I know your sister's super sociable. Has she known some people? So you're kind of putting your desire out there a little bit, trying to open up more avenues to getting dates. It's hard to get dates sat on your sofa, right? So sometimes we have to put ourselves out there. Sometimes we have to put ourselves out there in ways that initially draw a lot of blanks, right? So there can be a little bit of pounding the pavement with this. It won't necessarily happen for you quickly. So you might want to have a kind of short to medium term type strategy with this, right? That, hey, this is something I'm going to invest in for months and maybe years, right? I'm going to make a commitment to getting out into new environments more than I have been. So that's kind of the structural piece in some ways. Like if we had a calendar, and sometimes I've had clients do this, you try to keep an accurate representation of how you're spending your time. If we had your calendar, we could see last week you went to 2 new activities and you made 3 requests of friends, and you spent an hour on a dating app. Cool, that's something that we can track and that we can measure. Then there's a consciousness part, and maybe this part is a little harder potentially to track. It's not measurable in the same way, but the consciousness part is am I open to someone new coming into my life? And what are the blocks to that, right? Maybe there's a block called, I tend to feel really anxious around people, so it's hard for me to feel like I'm showing them who I am. So I might have to learn how to practice being with my anxiety. I might have to learn to practice to say to people, yeah, I can be shy, but actually as I get to know you, like, I can get through that. So it might be that there's, it's a little too small for me to pick it up on the camera, but like, let's just say it was a mini reptile with black and white stripes and a wiggly tail. I thought it was a snake for a moment. That's why I was kind of stopping. You might find there are ways that you can own your experience and reveal it, so that actually feeling shy or anxious or awkward or any things can be more normalized for you, and that it's okay. Maybe there's a consciousness that you are super independent, and perhaps sometimes that's been a barrier to people sort of tracking that you want to be in relationship, or even for you kind of owning that energy in yourself, right? So sometimes it's an edge to own that, yeah, maybe we do want to feel supported by someone else, or we do want to feel someone's presence taking care of us, or we do want to have intimacy. You know, none of these are things like, oh, you have to have this all dialed in, right? This is let's bring it to the practice, right? Let's learn forward. If you've got edges, as we all have really, to trust, independence, intimacy, you can bring them into relating. Like, hey, yeah, there's a thing. I'm working on it. I'm inquiring into it. I'm wondering if this might be a block. One of the blocks that I see is if you are putting yourself out there and you are getting dates, but you're not ever having dates that kind of go somewhere, right? Maybe you get a first date but not a second, or you get second dates but you never really get fifth dates, or something that can become a more sustained connection. You then have what I would call a sales problem, right? So you've got good prospects, you've got enough dates happening or leads happening, but they never seem to go somewhere. So then the question is, why is that? And one of the things you can do is be a scientist about it. This can be countercultural, but you can actually ask if there's people that you've dated, like, hey, I'm just curious, like, I want to, or maybe I shared with you that I want sort of a more serious style of relating, and that's not happening, and I'm just curious if there's any feedback. So you could ask if there's a collective feedback or collective kind of groupthink experience that people have with you. Or sometimes you can ask men that maybe you've got male friends, and just sort of say, hey, like, what do you notice about me? You know me, I want a relationship. Is there anything that you see that might be a block to that? So this is about being open and humble. And by the way, you don't have to take anything on, right? It's not to say that everything you hear is true. It's more that you can perhaps hear it and discern for yourself. Oh, is there something here for me? Is there something that I want to take care of? I'm going to see. Now I'm like, how do we tighten? All right, there we go. Sorry to spin you around, but it was coming a bit loose then. None of this is about you outsourcing your own wisdom and guidance, right? It's more that you can hear things from other people and then notice, is this true for me? How does it sit? How does it land? So you're using your own kind of intuition or own guidance system or own sense of something sort of feeling aligned to take in information from the outside and then sort of sieve and filter it. Another block that could be a kind of a sales issue, right? So this is where you're getting dates but they don't really ever convert into something, is how much you're bringing your authentic self to the table, right? Now, this can be really tricky, in part because you're like, well, look, these are random guys. I don't know them. So yeah, I'm not going to like let my guard down too much. And sometimes that's a wise strategy. But we also want you to be bringing the essence of who you are to dating, because that maximizes the chance that you might find someone that's authentically resonating with who you are, right? That's ideally what you want. So this might have you thinking, is there a more feminine part of me, for instance? This is something I've worked with clients on that I don't tend to bring into the dating process, because perhaps I had some bad experiences in the past, and I don't want to recreate those experiences, and I don't want men taking advantage of me, and obviously we don't want men taking advantage of you, but we're going to try to see if we can not chuck the baby out with the bathwater, right? Sort of meaning, is there a way that you can still take it slow and stay stay self-protected in ways that you need, but not that perhaps misrepresent the essence of who you are? And this is a nuance territory, and it's also a practice through time territory. And there's no right and wrong with this. It's just saying you've got a result, you want someone that you want to be in more relationship with, and we might have to change something about the current approach in order to pursue that. So sometimes it can be that the way that people are putting themselves forward is either kind of a sort of a persona of independence, or being guarded, or being vigilant, that doesn't then necessarily create the rapport. If you are a more feminine essence woman and you tend to date more masculine essence men, again, there's huge variation here, so I'm talking simplified terms. Another pattern that I sometimes see is that people are kind of leading with a particular persona, right? So let's say you are a helper, that you kind of approach dating almost like you're trying to help the other person, because that's what you unconsciously take yourself to be, or that's sort of the strategy that you show up with in life. But maybe people aren't responding to that, right? Or maybe it gets you into relating them from a place of being a helper, but not really as kind of an equal, or being seen as a sort of authentic, relatable partner material. So you might want to practice, can I relax that persona? Can I relate to someone from a different place? Like, maybe I'm not going to try to help them or be a shoulder for them to cry on or solve their business issues, but I'm just going to try to relate. And it might feel strange to me, because I might have to face that I don't feel so valuable when I'm not in that helper role, but then actually I get to bring more of my true self forward, and that's what I'm looking for. Sometimes people can relate from what I call like a friendly persona. So they're very friendly, and I've had lots of comments over the years from people like this, of like, every guy I meet says that I'm likable and they like me, but they don't tend to choose me. And sometimes that can be because you're sort of putting forward your friendly persona, your likability persona, but maybe it's not having you so connected to this the sort of polarity energetics of the dynamic, right? So maybe it's not having you actually connect with a more romantic or sexual part of you, which tends to want to be activated in dating for someone to feel that kind of attraction to you, or kind of the mutual attraction. So it might be a sophisticated way of staying safe, because actually when you're everyone's friend, you don't really have to risk a potential for rejection, right? Because you're sort of like, well, I kind of just meet guys and I kind of make them my friend, and maybe I hope that at some point I get the upgrade from friend into partner, but actually it doesn't really happen. But I'm sort of doing it somewhat unconsciously, and I've maybe never really distinguished that for myself. So the practice here would be, who am I when I'm not being a friend? Who am I when I'm not being a nice girl? Who am I when I'm not being a good girl or a patient listener? You fill in the blanks with the persona, but there's probably some kind of social role that you perhaps a little unconsciously play, or maybe it's conscious and you've just thought that it's smart, because there is a sense that you're looking for a friend, right? Most women that date men are looking to have someone who's a friend to them, and yet you don't want to be just a friend, because if they were just a friend, they could be just another one of your male friends, or you could have a whole set of male friends. But you're actually looking for someone that's more than a friend, because you also want this other thing, which is that there's a lover energy, and probably you also want this other thing, which is there's a partner energy, right? So partner has to do with, mutual and escalating commitments, a sense of consistency, a sense of, we want to show up for each other through time, a sense that we can maybe do some other things together, build a life, a home, a family, a business, travel schedule, something sort of substantive between you. But a lot of people, you see this in dating profiles, people say, basically, I'm looking for my best friend who I want to share a bed with, right? Which is code for, I want to find a friend, a good friend, a dear friend, a deep friend, who I'm also romantically sexually attracted to. But if that romantic sexual energy is kind of suppressed in you, then the chances are you're going to find a lot of friends, but you may not find that lover energy, or you may find that where that lover energy comes out in other places, right? Perhaps you go out on a Friday night and you can find someone to go make out with, but that's just lover. There's no real like friend or partner option on the table. So, how do you get into a relationship? In some ways, is how do you remove the blocks to being in relationship? Some of that can be if you unconsciously play a role. Some of that can be if you haven't got enough opportunities, like you need to just get out there. And for a lot of us, getting out there means getting out there before you feel fully comfortable, right? So there might be a part of you that's saying, well, I need to work on this, or I haven't healed from that, or it's just not the right time, or it's too busy. And you heard this before, right? There's never a great time in life for a lot of things, right? There's always sacrifices, compromises, problems, things that come up. So you might say, yeah, this isn't a great time, and I still want to go get some dates, and so I need to start putting myself out there. So for some of us, the lesson is put yourself out there before you feel fully comfortable. Otherwise, you are always preparing for life, but you're never really in the arena, living life, trying, learning, getting knocked down sometimes, picking yourself back up, doing the good work of being on your journey, So once you've removed blocks, or if you're in the process of removing blocks, you've gotten some feedback from other people, maybe for some people you've gone on dates with, maybe male friends in your life. You are willing to expose enough of that romantic sexual energy that you can connect with someone. It doesn't mean, by the way, let's just be clear, none of this is saying you need to exchange sexual energy with someone before, if at all, that feels right for you. It is saying, though, that if that energy is completely kind of cut off, it might not create the sort of tension and dynamic in dating where there is a lover energy involved, right? So you can be clear, I'm looking to find someone to be in a relationship with. Now, I'm not looking to be sexual with anyone anytime soon, but when I'm trying to get to know you, I'm not actually looking for a friend. I'm not only looking for a friend, I'm looking for someone who, yes, we have an element of friendship, but I'm not interested in exclusive friendship, right? I'm interested in someone that can be a lover and partner. So we can delay all that till some point down in the future if it's right for both of us. But I'm not looking for a situation where we really get to know each other as friends, and then one of us is surprised that actually the other one didn't just want friends, they wanted more. So if that's your strategy, I would advise you to try the alternative strategy, that you aren't going to be creating friendships with men. That for you want to keep that energy open for someone that's pursuing more than friendship with you. And it might mean for a while you have less men in your life, fewer men, or less male contact. But sometimes that cleaning up of your field, it sort of gives this clearer signal into yourself and out to the universe of what it is that I'm looking for. Now, if the issue is not that there's no men that want to be in a relationship with you and that you like them to be in a relationship with you, the issue is that you're just sort of like, I don't really know how to be in a relationship, then I'd be curious what that brings up. And maybe what it brings up is fear. Maybe it brings up fear of being smothered, right? That's a fear that a lot of us have in relationship, either because we lived it in childhood. Maybe there was a parent or an older sibling or guardian who was smothering of you, right? Either objectively speaking or sort of subjectively speaking, right? That was your experience, and really it's the subjective stuff that matters most. Let's just set up here for a moment. So maybe that was your experience, that there was someone that was smothering and controlling, and that has sort of had you keep people away from you, right? Or maybe you have the other experience, which is that you tend to merge with people. And so part of what's been difficult about getting into a relationship is that you kind of collapse into another person, and perhaps that hasn't gone well for you. Perhaps you lose yourself. Perhaps the other person hasn't wanted it and keeps kind of trying to like push you away and get space. My sense is there's going to be something out there for you, right? It might be not in a timeline of your choosing. That's part of the patience with life, is to sort of say, hey, I don't know when the next opening in the universe or next right timing or whatever language you want to use is, but I want to be available for it. So I'm sort of saying I have this kind of longer term intention. I want to get into a relationship. It doesn't have to happen for me this year, but that's where I'm putting my attention, right? I'm putting my attention there squarely, and I'll commit to put it there for a few years and practice and get feedback and show up and put myself out there and get on dates and ask my friends to set me up and relax my barriers and come more into my authentic essence. And that might sound exhausting, but actually this is this is a kind of day-to-day journey, meaning this is something that if you can put attention on it through time, you will probably find that something shifts in this territory for you. It might not shift in the exact way that you thought. It might not be that you manifest that relationship immediately. It might be that actually you start to work on the relationship with yourself, and that's really where the gold is in this cycle of your life. You getting more clear who you are, you getting more clear how to articulate your truth, you getting more clear how to bring your sexual energy in a way that feels good and aligned for you. You're being able to say no when something isn't aligned for you. All of that might not manifest in a relationship right now, but it might manifest in a lot of goodness in your path of development. So I encourage you to embrace this as a path of development. Let life bring you the nourishment, the learning, the challenge that you need to grow. And I also encourage you to be authentic with where you're at. Like, it's okay if you haven't been in a relationship. It's okay if you feel a little ambivalent about it. I would just encourage you to bring that, right? And that can be part of the communication, or feel free to work on it with someone until it does clarify for you. But you can only be where you are, right? I mean, that's a deeply simple but sort of spiritual concept, is that wherever you are right now is where you're meant to be, for all its liabilities, frailties, disappointments, heartaches, wounds, defenses, all of that stuff. Right? That it's okay to be where you are. You may not like it, you may want to move somewhere else, but let's start with you having rapport with where you are, and let's have you moving forward from this place, and let's have you, through patient attention over time, relaxing the blocks or the barriers that can get in the way. The rest you have to leave to life, right? Not everyone has the same relationship journey, right? For some people it might be, they have a sort of barren patch for a big period of time where they're not actually going to be in a sort of sustained relationship, right? For some people it's a ton of relationships, it's a turnover. For some people it's something that's not clear for a while, and you're kind of like, is it this, is it not? And there's a practice about staying open but also discerning and saying what's true for you and allowing things to clarify. So you can be taught many things on this path and you won't know what they are, but really we want you on the path. And as I imagine, if someone was like, how do I get into a relationship? The biggest risk might be that you're not getting in the arena, that you're staying too comfortable, or you're kind of expecting life to come to you, and you may have to come to life a little bit, right? We need you in the arena. We need you taking dates, pursuing dates, making connections, joining new groups, being in your kind of more connected social energy, and then seeing what happens from there. So I'd love to know, what's your experience? Please leave me a comment beneath the video. Please subscribe to the channel if you're interested in a more sort of deeper psycho-spiritual take on what the relational path can involve. But we also talk a lot in this channel about authenticity, personal growth, and better collective ways of being, how we can end the culture wars, how we can be better together, how we can build a better society. So all of that and more. Just hit subscribe, tap all notifications, and as always, I'm Jack. Thanks for being here.